Every spring, millions of gardeners fire up their tillers, tearing open the earth with the belief that loose soil guarantees a bountiful harvest. But what if this exhausting, expensive ritual is actually killing your garden? Deep in the heart of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, there is a community of farmers who never touch a modern tractor. In gardens that feed entire generations, the Amish almost never turn their soil. Yet when brutal summer droughts scorch the earth and neighboring crops wither and die, the Amish harvests do not just survive, they explode. They pull massive yields from soil that remains as black and spongy as a forest floor. They are using a forgotten, primitive method that creates a self-watering, drought-proof paradise. It is a secret that saves hundreds of hours of backbreaking labor, and it is the exact method the billion-dollar agricultural machinery industry is terrified you will discover. Picture a massive modern tractor roaring across an open field. Thick clouds of dust billow into the air as steel blades rip through the earth. The soil is left completely naked, exposed to the harsh sun and the pounding rain. Now step into an Amish homestead. There is no roar of diesel engines. There is only the quiet rustle of thick, golden straw blanketing the garden beds. For centuries, these communities have understood a fundamental truth that modern agriculture chose to ignore. They know that soil is not just dirt, it is a living, breathing body, and tearing it open with a tiller is like performing major surgery without anesthesia. We learned this the hard way during the 1930s. When the relentless mechanical plowing of the American Great Plains met a severe drought, it triggered the devastating Dust Bowl. Millions of tons of precious topsoil simply blew away. The skies turned black, and thousands of farms were wiped off the map. Yet while industrial fields turned to dust, traditional homesteads that embraced stillness and heavy cover held their ground. This is the great deception of modern gardening. We are taught to use brute force, to chop and churn the earth to make it produce, but the true secret to absolute abundance lies in leaving the soil completely undisturbed. Why exactly does doing nothing create such massive abundance? The answer lies right beneath your boots, but you cannot see it with the naked eye. When you drive a tiller through your garden, the spinning blades do not just chop up weeds. They violently shred the most complex communication system in nature. It is called the mycorrhizal fungal network. Think of these microscopic threads as a vast underground fiber optic cable system. They attach directly to the roots of your plants and stretch out for yards in every direction. They hunt for hidden water. They mine deep into the earth for phosphorus, zinc, and other vital minerals. Then, they transport these treasures directly back to your plants, trading them for liquid sugars. When you till the soil, you are literally slashing the internet cables of your garden. You are forcing every single vegetable to survive completely isolated in a shattered wasteland. But the destruction goes even deeper. These fungal threads sweat out a miraculous, ultra-sticky protein called glomalin. Glomalin is the biological superglue of the earth. It binds sand, silt, and clay together into perfect little structural blocks. These blocks create millions of tiny air pockets, turning the earth into a giant, breathing sponge. A sponge that eagerly swallows heavy rain and holds it tight for the long, scorching dry season. A tiller shatters this biological glue. It pulverizes those perfect structures, turning living, breathing soil into dead, fine powder. And the moment the first heavy rain falls, that fine powder collapses and bakes into a hard, concrete crust. The water runs off, the roots suffocate, and your plants slowly die of thirst, completely cut off from the underground world that was built to protect them. But you do not have to just take my word for it. The proof is written in 4 decades of relentless scientific data. The Rodel Institute, a pioneer in agricultural research, ran a massive 40-year trial. They compared heavily tilled land against completely undisturbed soil. During years with perfect rainfall, the harvests were relatively similar. But then the brutal summer droughts hit. This is when the true magic of leaving the earth alone finally revealed itself. While the conventionally tilled fields baked into dead, cracked mud, the untouched fields thrived. They produced a staggering 31% higher yield during the most extreme, unforgiving dry spells. Why? Because those intact fungal networks and biological glues had successfully transformed the earth into a massive, underground water reservoir. This 31% scientific increase is simply the modern validation of what the Amish have quietly practiced for generations. They do not need expensive laboratories to measure their soil moisture. They just look across the fence at their neighbors' withered, dying crops in the blazing heat of July. Then they walk into their own completely silent gardens. They harvest dense, heavy tomatoes and massive, water-rich pumpkins from soil that has not seen a single drop of rain in weeks. For an everyday gardener facing a scorching summer, this is not just a neat trick. It is the absolute difference between total crop failure and the greatest harvest of your life. And the best part? You can recreate this exact drought-proof paradise in your own backyard, starting today. You do not need a $1,000 machine. You do not even need to pull a single weed. To build this system, you are going to use a brilliant, lazy technique known as lasagna gardening. It relies entirely on cheap or completely free materials. Step 1 is establishing the blackout. Take a weed whacker and cut your grass or existing weeds all the way down to the dirt. Do not dig them up. Leave the roots exactly where they are. Then cover the entire area with overlapping sheets of plain, brown cardboard and soak them thoroughly with a hose. This cardboard instantly blocks the sun, smothering the weeds above while keeping the microscopic networks below completely safe and undisturbed. Step 2 is adding the fuel. Spread a layer of rich compost or well-rotted manure directly on top of the wet cardboard. Just 2 to 4 inches is perfect. This creates a massive concentrated food source that will trigger an explosion of earthworms and beneficial microbes. Step 3 is building the armor. Cover your compost with a thick blanket of carbon. You can use old straw, dry autumn leaves, or wood chips. You want this layer to be deep, at least 4 to 6 inches thick. This mimics the protective floor of an ancient forest. It keeps the earth cool on blistering summer days and stops water evaporation dead in its tracks. Finally, step 4 is planting. When you are ready to grow, simply pull back a small circle of that top armor. Poke a hole right through the compost in the soft, decomposing cardboard. Drop your seed or seedling inside and gently tuck the mulch back around the stem. That is it. The roots will dive deep through the cardboard into a perfectly structured, moisture-rich underground world. If this method is so superior, why is it rarely taught on mainstream agricultural networks? Because you cannot patent dead leaves, and you cannot sell a subscription to a natural ecosystem. Tilling the earth creates a dangerous biological illusion. When you rip the soil open, a massive rush of oxygen floods into the ground. The surviving bacteria go into an absolute feeding frenzy. They devour the remaining organic carbon, releasing a sudden, massive spike of nitrogen. Your plants look incredibly green and vibrant for a few short weeks, but it is nothing more than a biological sugar rush. You are literally burning through the soil's long-term savings account for a quick, temporary thrill. Once that natural structure completely collapses, the trap snaps shut. Your vibrant soil is now dead dirt. To make anything grow in that dead dirt, you are now forced to buy heavy bags of synthetic fertilizer. Because you destroyed the natural weed-suppressing mulch, you are forced to buy chemical herbicides. And because your dead dirt bakes into solid concrete every summer, you are forced to buy bigger, more expensive tillers just to break it apart. It is the perfect, inescapable business model. And this brings us back to the Amish. Their silent, undisturbed gardens are not just a quaint quirk of history, they are a direct threat to a multi-billion-dollar agrochemical empire. The industry relies entirely on you being dependent on their supply chain. You simply cannot sell a lifetime supply of synthetic chemicals to a community whose soil is self-watering, self-healing, and self-fertilizing. The secret of the undisturbed garden was not forgotten by accident. It was buried because true biological independence is the one thing the industry cannot monetize. The true wealth of a garden does not begin by tearing open the earth. It begins by protecting the invisible life beneath it. The no-till method of the Amish is not a step backward into the past. It is the ultimate ecological solution for the future. By putting down the machinery, covering the soil, and letting nature do the heavy lifting, you take your power back. This season, I challenge you to leave the tiller in the shed. Try building just one single garden bed using cardboard and mulch. You will not only save your own back, but you will witness an explosion of life unlike anything you have ever seen. It is time we stop fighting nature and start cooperating with it. Before you head out to the garden, I want to hear from you. What type of free organic mulch is most readily available in your local area? Are you surrounded by dry autumn leaves, old straw, or wood chips? Drop your answer in the comments below so we can share ideas. And if you want to uncover more forgotten ecological secrets, make sure to subscribe. I will see you in the next video.